The Darkroom. In the heart of a fog-enshrouded city stood an old, decrepit mansion that had long been abandoned. The mansion had a dark history, rumored to be cursed. Despite the warnings, a curious young photographer named Clara decided to explore it, seeking to capture its haunting beauty on film. Clara had recently inherited a vintage camera from her late grandfather, a renowned photographer whose works had often explored the darker side of life. The camera was an exquisite piece with intricate carvings and an antique charm that fascinated Clara. Her grandfather's death had left her feeling strangely drawn to the camera, and the mansion seemed like the perfect subject for its first use. One foggy afternoon, Clara entered the mansion, her steps echoing through the empty halls. The air was thick with dust and the scent of decay. She set up her equipment in the grand foyer, taking in the faded grandeur of the once stately home. As she moved through the house, her camera's shutter clicked rhythmically, capturing the eerie beauty of cobweb-laden chandeliers and peeling wallpaper. The mansion seemed to whisper secrets through its creaking floorboards, but Clara brushed off her unease as excitement. She discovered a dark room in the basement, its door hanging ajar. Inside, the air was cooler, and the light from her flashlight revealed shelves lined with old photographic chemicals and forgotten photographs. One corner of the room held a large, ancient-looking developing tank. Clara felt a shiver of anticipation. She decided to develop a few of her photos there, intrigued by the possibility of old, forgotten images emerging from the darkness. As Clara mixed the chemicals and placed her first photograph into the tank, she felt an odd sense of dread, as though the mansion was watching her. The shadows in the dark room seemed to dance menacingly, and the silence was broken only by the occasional drip of water from the old pipes. When the photo emerged from the developing solution, Clara's heart skipped a beat. The image showed the grand foyer of the mansion, but it was filled with ghostly figures, pale, translucent forms that seemed to float among the dusty furniture. The figures were blurry and indistinct, but their presence was unmistakable. Her hands trembled as she developed more photos, each one revealing the same ghostly apparitions in different rooms. She could no longer deny that something was deeply wrong. Desperate to understand, she combed through the old photographs in the dark room. As she looked closer, she saw disturbing images of people with horrified expressions, their eyes wide with terror. Clara's fingers trembled as she turned over one of the old photographs. The image showed a group of people huddled together, their faces frozen in sheer panic. One face, in particular, stood out. It was her own. Panicking, Clara tried to leave the dark room, but the door slammed shut behind her with an ominous thud. She yanked at the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Her flashlight flickered, casting erratic shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. In the dim light, Clara noticed something horrifying, figures beginning to materialize around her, emerging from the shadows. They were the same ghostly forms from the photographs, but now they were more solid, their eyes hollow and pleading. Clara could feel their icy breath on her neck and hear their silent screams. Desperate and terrified, Clara tried to reason with the apparitions, but they only drew closer, their faces contorted in agony. She realized with growing horror that they were trying to communicate something. The figures reached out to her, and their hands were cold and clammy against her skin. The dark room seemed to close in on her. The shadows writhed and coalesced into a dark, suffocating mass. Clara felt a pull, as if the very walls of the room were trying to consume her. With a final, frantic effort, she managed to force the door open and stumbled into the mansion's foyer. Her breath came in ragged gasps, and the photos she had taken lay scattered around her. As she glanced back at the dark room, she saw the shadows within coalescing into a swirling vortex, drawing everything toward it. Clara fled the mansion, her heart pounding, never looking back. She vowed never to return. The mansion was soon sealed off, but rumors spread that the dark room had been bricked up. The few who dared to approach the old house claimed to hear whispers and see flickering lights through the windows. Clara's photographs were never developed, but she kept one, a single terrifying image of herself surrounded by ghostly figures. Each time she looked at it, she felt an icy chill, as though the ghosts had followed her, trapped between the realms of the living and the dead. The Darkroom's curse remained, a grim reminder that some mysteries are better left unexplored.